Hey dudes and dudettes, it's Simon Hurley and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be sharing 4 different backgrounds you can get using just one stencil, which is the Scene Maker stencil from my line. We really made this one with versatility in mind, so I hope you guys enjoy the backgrounds that we create. Without further ado, let's get into it. This is the Scene Maker stencil. It comes with the stencil, and it also comes with the masks. So you get the mask for the mountain, some for the clouds, the sun, and the moon, and I'll share how to use those along with it, and then it shares some examples here as well. So the cool thing about this stencil is a lot of these stencils that I have seen in the past, give you either grass or clouds, but they don't give you every single thing you need, and that's what we wanted to do when making this stencil. So let's get into creating. So I'm gonna first start off with a super simple background, one that I've been creating for a while with this stencil, but have really fallen in love with. So I'm gonna start off with my grass. So I'm gonna go in here and ink blend Psych down, and I'll go in with a little bit of Tropical Tango. This makes it just a little bit darker at the top edges and just creates this, look at that stunning green color that mixed. These are just magic together. So it's Psych and Tropical Tango. So once I'm done with that, we have our grass created and start blending this out. And of course, you guys could keep it really simple. I mean, you don't even need to go in and do these kind of dual blends that I'm doing today with all these different colors. You can keep it super simple and just do one solid color. I don't know what's gotten into me lately, but I just stopped taping down my stencils. I don't know if you guys have noticed, and just started kind of holding them down, and it really just makes things go a little bit faster. All right, so we've got our sun created here. I love that little bit of red on there too, with my stencil here. And I'm gonna show you how to get a little bit of variation with these clouds. So in my latest video that I just shared on my YouTube channel, I shared these blending brushes too, that I really love to use these blending brushes when I want a little bit of a softer blend. So there's a couple of colors I would use for the sky. You could use a color like Clear Skies or Minty Fresh, and both of these are gonna give you a really cool look, and I'll share both of them in today's video. Go in and ink blend with a little bit of Clear Skies. So I'll wipe off some ink onto my surface first to get a really nice soft blend, and then I'll go in and start blending on my clouds. And I always say, with these especially, less is more. You're gonna think that you're not really applying down much ink at all, but then once you lift this off, so like look, it doesn't look like much, right? Because I wiped most of the ink off onto my surface, but then it just creates this nice soft glow of those clouds, which I really like for these backgrounds. If I want a little more variation, what I like to do is I like to go in here and I'll start blending this out. And once I get to about here, I'll lift that off and I'm going to line another one up with this area. So let's say I want to do this. It doesn't need to line up perfectly, but if you line it up, it's just going to continue that, and you can make it a totally different section of the stencil. So look at that. It just continuously goes across, but I use 2 different sections so it doesn't look anything like the ones that we did below it. So that's how I like to kind of change things up if you're using just the same row. I don't think you need a whole stencil just for clouds. So that's why we did this all in one. So this Minty Fresh color really is just that. It's this kind of fresh mint color, but it's also got like a little bit of a neutral undertone. Like I thought it was gonna be a gray when we originally made it, but I was pleasantly surprised by the cool color that it gave. So look at that awesome color. And then let's go in here and blend this side out too with a little bit of Minty Fresh, and then let's bring one more cloud in. Right over here. But I just love, love, love this background. It's such an easy, beautiful blend, and of course, any of your images from the Simon Hurley Create collection or any other collection can beautifully go onto this background. Let's go in and create kind of a nighttime Halloween look. So this side of the stencil, I created just this little like hilled off edge, and I'm gonna share how to use that. Now, of course, you could continue to use the grass if you want to. The cloud is a little close to that, so I'm just gonna go in here And of course, if you want to tape off any sections of the stencil, go ahead and do it, right? More power to you, because then you'll know that you won't make any mistakes. I like this side just because it gives a really kind of like subtle looking hill, which I appreciate. Later Gator first, and I just love this color. It's kind of a mid-tone green, and I'll blend it out to the bottom just like I did the other hill. But I want to make this a little bit of a darker grass because we're going to make it more of a nighttime scene here. And then of course we'll go in with a little bit of fake plant, which is that darker green color, and you just get a nice kind of blend there. I like doing that two-toned look. I think it really helps give some depth and dimension to the card. One thing I'm going to do, and you can do this with any section of the stencil, like I said, some of the parts come with masks like the mountains and the sun and everything, but if you want to create your own mask, I recommend just going in with the stencil, going right across just to trace that. And like I said, it's a very minimal hill here, but I just want to get a mask going so that I can go in and mask that area off as we create the nighttime sky. Another thing that I gave you is the circle from the sun, and I'm going to here, and I want this to be kind of like a glowing moon in the background, and add that down. If I were doing this and my whole craft room was unpacked, I would grab a little bit of pixie spray, and that would hold this down a lot better. So just hope and pray that this stays down. I might have to hold it down with my finger. And then once I'm done with that, I'm gonna start lightly blending some colors in. So let's start off with a little bit of clear skies. I'll go in and blend this around the moon, really with a super light hand. I want to just kind of start building up the colors one by one. So I'm just going to go in here, and I'm not going right to the edge of this. I just want to leave a little bit of that yellow still there. And then I can always go back in with a little bit of over the moon, and that's just going to bring back a little bit of that yellow ink and kind of blend those two colors together. So if you want help blending, just go back in with the same color and it'll kind of blend it together to kind of deepen things up a little bit on the edges. So this time we'll start with the edges and we'll go in, and this color is a little bit darker, just a little bit more of kind of a teal mid-tone. I would say the clear skies is the lightest we have right now, and then this goes starting to go into like a mid-tone color. So once I'm done with that, this is going to be a little bit of a longer process, but it really just builds up this color really great. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit of Midnight Snack. And I love this color. It's this really nice darker neutral, and I'm so glad we're adding some darker colors to the line because it really helps with blending and shading and things like that. I'm not a huge fan of pattern paper or things like that. I just like making backgrounds my own. And with inks, it's really easy to do that. So how long have I been ink blending? Probably since I first started card making. And yes, I kind of, well, I wouldn't say I taught myself. I learned from a lot of YouTube videos and things like that, but you really learn what works for you. And people have been commenting that on my recent video too, where I compared blending tools. You learn what blending tool works for you. You learn how much pressure works for you. So it's really like, yes, you learn from other people, but you're really kind of learning by yourself on what works best for you. We'll go in back with a little bit of Over the Moon and just bring that to blend this color out and give the moon that little glow around it. Let me add a little bit of water on here. So I'm just going to go in and spray some water down. My inks react really well with water and they'll kind of start bleaching it out. And I only want a couple little spots to look like stars. And let's go in and do the reveal. Let's stop messing with it. Be very gentle as I peel that off, and yep, okay, we're good. Maybe I am. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. But I want like some like craters. I don't know. I might regret what I just did. We'll see. Okay, better without the brown. Y'all, let me show you something that we can do. So what I'm gonna do is go in with this mask, and I'll go in and just add ink onto it. Then I'm going to spray this down. I added a little bit of ink down onto this mask, and that created a little bit of texture on there too. So that's a cool look, and then you could always go in over top and add a little bit more definition to it and everything like that. And this just makes such a cool looking moon in the end. Show how to fix everything, and if you run into problems too, you can do things like this. So just cut it out and apply it down, and we just won't tell anybody. Nobody will know. And so there we go. That's how you can fix that mistake pretty quickly. Since we spent a lot of time on this background, you obviously don't want to redo that, but I just love how that looks. Okay, so again, we'll go in with a little bit of Psych that nice lighter brown color and some Tropical Tango. I'm pretty boring, y'all. I use the same color combinations. Once I know something works, I'm like, okay, let's stick with that. So Tropical Tango and Psych it is. So here, I'm going to go in and tape off some areas that I don't want to get inked again. So this is pretty easy to do. The reason why we like pack images onto this is because I don't want to give you like 2 images on a stencil. So I give you lots of images, and then you just have to sometimes go in with a little bit of tape if you want to like mask things off or stuff like that. And you'll be like, well, Simon, why don't you mask that off? So I'll show you guys how I'm going to do this. So I just like to go into these mountains, and I start really dark at the top, and then I just kind of slowly bring that color down and fade it out. So you'll see I'm still adding brown to the bottom of that, but it's so faded out into that white that it's not going to really cover that brown or go over top of it, because there's no way I'm gonna mask off that grass. I'm a fan of fussy cutting, I'm all for it. I'm like, you know, that's good. But when you get down to little tiny details like that, it's not something I'm willing to do. I'll peel this off the card, and there we have our mountain range. I just love this. And of course you could add like another littler one in the center, and then you can go into the pack, and the mountain range comes along with your set. Go in there, tape that down, and there's a couple things we could do. I always like to make like a sun kind of going down and going into the mountains, and of course since we haven't masked off, that's gonna work perfectly. We'll go into here, and I like to add the color nearest to where that mountain range is, because that's where you're gonna get shadows. That's where it's gonna be shaded there. Then we'll finally go in with a little bit of bee sting. And then since that's such a dark color, I'll go back in and just kind of blend it out. And now let's go in and add some clouds down. Okay, so this time I'm going to use a little bit of Minty Fresh. We'll wipe some off to the side, and then go in and start blending. And you can see that that gives a totally different look. It's not as crisp and clear of a blue. It's a little bit more muted, a little bit more, like I said, got that kind of minty tone to it, but I love Minty Fresh. And start blending down. Look at that. And it just creates a whole new look. We'll go in here with some excess ink, and up here, and like that little bit of ink goes a long way when you're trying to fade out a sky. So I'll go in and peel this up slowly and carefully. We don't want to ruin our ink blending. We need to use these little birds, because I haven't showed them yet. So let me go in here and add these birds down. So I'll go in with a little bit of woof, and let's make these little guys fly in. So I'm using one of these mini detail blenders, and these detail blenders help to get in a lot of these little details like this. I used them in my last video, and I was like, they come in great handy when you're using it with maker stencils, and they totally do. Because there's a lot of little areas like this that you want to get into, and you don't want to have to mask off the whole stencil. So there we go, there's the finished background. I love how this one looks with those little birdies on top, and they just add a little bit more detail to it, but it's just so much fun. Okay, so we'll start off with Piggyback again. Go in with a light hand, blend that down. Okay, now when we go in with Prom Queen, what we're gonna do is we're going to just blend it off on the side. I didn't even add any ink to this. I'm just blending it off on the side first, because it needs it. It's a very vibrant color, which I love most of the time, but when you're trying to create like a pastel sky, it's not the best. I'm gonna clean off my stencil, because we've been using pinks and reds, and I wanna switch into orange. So I'm just going to spray it down and just do a little bit of blending with it. And this orange is just going to kind of make a nice lighter blend. Not difficult to do with this one, since it's a lighter color, because this is a good mid-tone green. We don't want it too dark, so I'm going with a really light hand to blend that in. Then let's go in with let's try this. Let's try with a little bit of Midnight Snack. Y'all, we're gonna wipe a lot of this color off. I just want like a darker blue tone, and I think this is gonna do the trick, but we want just like the slightest bit of color from it. So I think this really goes to show you guys, you can really stretch your ink colors far. If you just, you want water them down, if you're watercoloring, or just go in with a lighter hand, and you can really get some different tones from that, because that blue is usually really dark. So here's the background that we created. And then of course, you could go in, and what I like to do, but I like to stamp this sun in different orange colors, and it says Sending Sunshine and Hugs, and that is just such a great like medallion for the center of your card to finish it off really nicely. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the different backgrounds that we created using this stencil, and we'll give it a try. I'll have links down below to everything that I used. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up and click that subscribe button down below so you never miss more content like this video from me. And also I have a phone number now too, so if you guys want to text, you can get deals, notifications when I upload videos, and chat with me one-on-one, which is super awesome as well. Alright guys, I'll see you very, very soon for another card making and crafting video. Have a great day. Bye!